office. They're interfering with the exercise of the president's constitutional authority to direct the executive branch. And they're issuing nationwide, uniform, universal injunctions to basically second guess the president in the exercise of his powers. The example I like to give, Congress has the power of the purse, the appropriation power. Suppose in 1944, Congress had passed an appropriation Roosevelt that tax dollars to land our troops at Normandy instead of Dunkirk. And he lands them at Normandy anyway, or he issues an order to the military to land at Normandy. And somebody files a suit. And some judge issues an injunction against the president because he's violating that Appropriation Act. What nonsense. The act was an intrusion on the president's power as commander-in-chief, and the judicial injunction is a double intrusion on the power as commander-in-chief. And we need to think about the executive branch in the way the founders thought, that the president is the executive. Nobody else is. No bureaucrat at U.S. aid is the exclusive power. The Article 2 says the executive power is vested in the president. Nobody else. Everybody else only has executive power derivative from him. And the notion that these bureaucrats run the show and the president's supposed to take their direction from him rather than the other way around. Because what that really means is not only is the president not in charge, but we who elect the president are not in charge. And we're no longer we the people, we the sovereign people. That's what's going on with these judicial injunctions. And I think the 4D game of chess that President Trump is playing is finally going to put that abuse of the judicial office back in place, back in check, and restore separation of powers the way they should be.
John, are you referring also to the response by the courts to Trump's executive orders?
I am. The most egregious one was the injunction telling the newly confirmed Secretary of the Treasury he couldn't look at Treasury Department data because he wasn't authorized. Only the people that work for him were authorized. I mean, this is the deep state upside down. You know, when Trump's first term, there were a couple of important stories in the New York Times. He was not taking direction from the intelligence community. Remember that? I'm sorry, they work for him, not the other way around. Or then when he wanted to put in his own guy as acting attorney general after Bill Barr left, they thought that was an outrage. I'm sorry, he's the guy we elect. All right? It's not the deep state. It's not the intelligence community. It's not all these little bureaucrats running around thinking they run the show. The only power they have comes from him. And if he directs them not to exercise a power in a certain way, then that's their job. And if they're not willing to do it, then he's right to fire them. And that's what we're seeing, and that's the confrontation that I think we're going to have over the next 4 years.
It's going to come to a head, maybe.